Hi there, I'm Shawna Robins, founder and CEO of Spark. Today I am doing an Authority Magazine interview with Kenzie Biggins. Kenzie is the founder and CEO of Worxbee. It's a leading provider of virtual executive assistant solutions. Driven by a passion for supporting small and mid-sized businesses, her strategic leadership and dedication to company culture has established her as an authority on balancing professional success with personal fulfillment. Kenzie's commitment to empowering others, especially female and minority entrepreneurs, underscores her influence and expertise in navigating work, love, and life as a powerful woman. Thank you, Kenzie, for joining me today. I can't wait to talk to you about how to successfully navigate work as a powerful woman.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Shawna.
Yeah, so tell me how you got started in the line of work that you're in.
So there's many different opinions on how I got started and where I am. I would say the clearest path really lines up to one, my graduate thesis from the Savannah College of Art and Design was all about improving the American economy through the production of luxury goods. So how do we take a highly skilled labor force and connect them to meaningful work to help stabilize their households and their income? And then the second part of it was just being curious. I was running a social media agency in 2011. And at that time, if you did one thing on the internet, people thought you knew everything about the internet. So I got tons of questions about virtual assistants, and I got enough questions that I was like, I need to stop and think about this and really understand the need. And just sitting in a meeting with a retiring executive who was telling me that they also needed help, I was like, okay, maybe this is our niche. Maybe our niche is executive assistants. It tied back well to my thesis to think about that highly skilled labor that necessarily couldn't be taught in a classroom, and how do we connect them to meaningful work coming out of the Great Recession.
So do you focus just on women, or do you have male assistants as well? Tell me a little bit of background on that.
Yes, so our team runs the full gamut as far as everybody is welcome. But I will say being an executive assistant is a primarily female dominated role. I mean, it's not just about the industry as a whole, because I will say a lot of peers running companies like I run tend to be males versus females. But as far as the actual workforce, it tends to be females. And when you think about women and raising to positions of power within different organizations, a lot of them have had the power all along as executive assistants. A lot of our executive assistants could have been running Fortune 500 companies this whole time, but they just chose that servant leadership position. So yes, it tends to be a very female dominated industry.
Okay, so tell me about, so given that you work with a lot of women, tell me about in what ways are you able to lead and inspire and encourage them to really, not only stand in their own personal power, but how do you stand in your own within your business and life and, workplace and love and all of these other areas in your life?
So I think we're in a very interesting place, really coming out of the pandemic, where women are getting this opportunity to celebrate loving what they do every day. Before it was kind of like, oh, you're a woman, you work, great, you're advancing your career. Look, it's the first, it's the first, it's the first. And I feel like there was this shift. I want to say 2022, maybe even early 2023, where women were like, no, I actually really enjoy like pushing the needle and being successful and making things happen. So I think one of the things I do is one, standing in a place as an authentic leader who likes to celebrate, like we're doing things and we're doing the hard work and we're showing up as ourselves. But also really pushing and kind of challenging people about, just because you're a woman of power and authority in the workplace, like you don't have to meet this stereotype of being kind and cuddly with everything you do. Like you can still show up as your authentic self, and letting people sit in their own discomfort, but helping guide them through that discomfort. And, you yourself having to sit in discomfort sometimes with people finding how comfortable they are with yourself. But all of those moments, I think really help my team as far as how they show up as themselves and how they celebrate who they are. I would also say we do a lot around getting people to the right place, right? So, yes, leaders need support. EAs are supporting them. It's not just about, hey, EA, you have to support this person just because. It's about also empowering them to get paired in the right relationship that's going to help them thrive and succeed and show up as their authentic self.
And so how do you make that pairing happen? What are some of the requirements that you look at?
Oh, there's so many. It's a whole process. But I would say one of the biggest things we take into account is how people communicate,
Mm.
right? So, as a leader, as a female leader, it's okay to be very direct in your communication. It's okay to want bullet points. It's okay to, have an idea and not remember that idea the next day because there's so much going on. But it's about how do we get you to an EA who is okay with that and who can take that journey with you and who you both want to talk to each other every day and support each other.
Mm.
Um, because it's how you work naturally, right? So a lot of it is allowing people to show up, like I said, as themselves. I can't stress that enough. But it is, how do you communicate? What are the skill sets you really need? Who's someone that can grow with you and what you need and what might be coming out in the future? So it's taking all of that into account and more in order to really make sure we get the proper people together and giving, EAs a chance to say, no, maybe this client is not the best person for me, but also giving clients a chance to interview the EAs. And let me say, EA is an executive assistant. I talk to lots of people who don't necessarily know that an EA is an executive assistant, and I just use that terminology freely.
Yeah, I think the fact that people can work online now and that you can work from anywhere in the world, really, I mean, is been such a silver lining with COVID, and that people have access like to be able to connect and have a relationship and be supported by women from, anywhere in the world, different kinds of cultures. You're just such a better exposure, I think, and it creates so much more connection and authenticity, like you're saying.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of people move out of major metropolitan areas into more like mid-sized cities, even some rural areas to have a little more balance within their life. I also think it's one of those things, I remember in 2020 when people were like, no, this is horrible. Like, this can't go on forever because how do we maintain culture? How do we maintain interaction?
Hmm.
And for me, I'm like, if your culture only lives within the four walls of a building, it's not really your company culture. So how do you maintain a total culture that is authentic to who you are and authentic to your business? So I think that's all been challenged. And I think it's actually continuing to be challenged as there is this push pull between getting people back into the office or allowing them to continue to work virtually.
Yeah. So as a female leader, what do you feel like you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis that maybe some of your other male counterparts are not dealing with? How long is the list?
What can I say in public?
You can
There's
say anything you want.
I mean, I think the biggest thing is men, and it's funny. Let me say this. Women are expected to, like, we have to give everybody grace in whatever they do. Men automatically give men grace. Men do not give women grace as much as they give their male counterparts. So if we walk in and we're flustered about something, we're being overly emotional. But if a male counterpart walks in and they're flustered about something, they're like, what's got you down? What, what's really bothering you? And I think, for men in leadership positions, I see some who are phenomenal with women leaders and really do look at women leaders as their peers and realize the value that they bring into any room as far as giving them a seat at the table. But
Mhm.
I also see men sometimes question me for things where I'm like, you wouldn't question a man on this. Or I'll sit there and witness them not questioning a man about it when I'm looking at it like, you should be questioning them about this. But
Mhm.
then they're questioning me with no validation for questioning me. So I think that is the biggest challenge and something really to think about. It is the push of not just being a female, but I also, am a Black female. So it's that challenge of like, and I see this so much, oh, does she really understand financials? And I mean, when you think about the history of corporations, there's been so much pushing women towards things that don't have P&L responsibility that now that we are in places where we do manage P&L, it's really digging into the numbers, not being afraid of the numbers,
Mhm.
but reminding people that, yes, we know these things.
Mhm.
Women have been managing budgets for a very, very, very long time. Now it's just in a different setting.
I love that. Okay, so that's definitely something that needs to change, right? The idea of girl math, or the idea that girls aren't good with numbers or women aren't good with numbers. What else do you feel like needs to change to really, make more opportunities for not only women, but women of color, like you said.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the list is long. I think a lot of it is one, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. One, I love the research and conversations that are coming out around perimenopause.
Mhm.
And I feel like historically in the workplace, men were just like, oh, she's flustered and overwhelmed by this presentation because maybe she was having a hot flash, but
Sure.
like she knows the information and she's just getting it out. I think we need to have more honest conversations and not be afraid to have these conversations because I feel like things like that are also showing up in a critical point
Mhm.
in a woman's career where she is, in that place where she can take over the world and do all these things, and men are discounting just simply based on something that we have no control over and something that's been blocked from funding and research for years. So
Right.
that's another big one where I would challenge men to get comfortable once again with the uncomfortable things that they were taught that like they never had to talk about growing up, like, oh, those are lady issues.
Mm.
But if you're going to be a great male leader, if you're going to work with an organization where there are women, like, hormones, all these things are completely valid, and you can't treat a woman like she doesn't know what's going on, or oh, she's just nervous and she's overwhelmed. Like, no, dude, she's having a hot flash,
Yeah.
she'll be fine. Give her 15 minutes, we're going to get this done. So I think it's just pushing that conversation and pulling everybody into the conversation to make it not a moment of shame, but something that we're all just working through and not discounting these phenomenal minds, insights, and visionaries.
Yeah, I love that. I think that that's a really important thing. To focus on, because the more there's acceptance and awareness and conversation and authentic, education, and just the better as a community we can all function together and support one another. And I love that you bring up perimenopause, because I do think that there's not enough information in the workplace. It's starting to trickle down, but like you said, it starts at the top, right? There's not enough information with our doctors, much less in
Yeah.
the corporate world. So it's this ground swelling of change that needs to happen, and having these more authentic conversations is really, really important. Anything else that you see that you really wish as a powerful woman could change in our society for you or for the women that you work with?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see women feel less shame around getting help. I mean, when we get down to it, our brains just work differently.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of stuff that we're running that list in the background of all the things that have to get done all the time. And I think because of that, I've seen several of my friends and peers carry this weight of like, oh, well, I have to be the one to get it all done. And yes, it is sad that we have to pay to outsource support, but I also think we need to be unapologetic about where we need help and getting the help that we need so we can spend more time, you know, thinking about what drives success for us in our businesses and professionally, but also getting to enjoy ourselves.
Mhm.
Like, I really enjoy my morning workouts. I enjoy a little afternoon walk. I actually enjoy cooking. Don't enjoy the cleanup or grocery shopping. But, if we're in a place, especially if you are working really hard, that you're able to enjoy life more. And anytime that you're not working isn't automatically this stressor of like, I have this list of things and this running tally of things. Like if you got to wake up at 4 a.m. and meditate on a mountainside every day, like all the things that you read about in the magazines, where it's like some male founders like, listen to what I do and how my day goes. And I read it, I'm always like, how?
Right.
How is anything getting done? Like, when did they make lunch? When did they make coffee? Like, how is this getting done? So I think it's just leaning into it is okay to not only ask for help,
Mm.
but to hire services that will help you be your best and show up as your best and give you the brain space to be the amazing person and leader that you are.
Yeah, that is just the core of all of it, right? Is just being able to have really firm boundaries, being able to advocate for yourself, know what you need, and take care of yourself, put yourself on the list, right? A lot of
Yes,
women have the list, like you're saying, and not only are they not at the top, but they're not on the list, right? Their
at
needs
all.
their needs are just totally discounted. And so how can we advocate for ourselves and ask to be seen and recognized when we don't feel that ourselves?
Mm-hmm. 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 Can't advocate for something that you don't even remotely provide for yourself. Yes.
Yeah, and just the studies between emotional labor that women carry, not just in the workplace, but also at home. The fact that, like you said, the list never stops. It's running in the brain all the time. And the wear and tear that happens on a woman's heart and the cardiovascular problems that come from that, the sleep problems that come from that, the mental health problems that come from that. These two things are correlated. So I like that you fundamentally want this to change for women and that you advocate for them in this space. I think that's
Oh,
important.
yes. I'm like, one, find a great therapist. I'm a huge advocate for find a therapist. Sometimes it is like dating, which is challenging, but find a great therapist. I mean, two, find a great doctor who's willing to hear you out and have those conversations and run the additional test
Hmm.
and run the follow-up
Hmm.
test, and do all the things and, read the health books and, it's there's so much out there, but you also it's placing advocates in your life, right? So part of getting help and getting the right resources is someone who's going to continue to listen to you and advocate for you. I'm not a doctor, but I have a doctor who advocates for me, keeps up with what's going on, especially, with women's health and heart health, because that is a huge one for women that we don't talk about enough either.
Yeah, it's the number one killer of women,
Yes.
heart disease. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
important. All right,
I
Kenzie,
got
thank you so much
calcium
for,
for last week. Go ahead.
yeah, well, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. How can women connect with you? Where can they find you, follow you?
Yes. So I'm on LinkedIn and active on LinkedIn. So Kenzie Biggins. They can definitely find me there. They can also go to our website, worxbee.com, WORXBEE.com. They can find lots of information there. We even have more information coming out now about finding an executive personal assistant and that idea, once again, of supporting and helping yourself in every way possible.
Wonderful. I love it. All right, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.